Greetings, my friends, and welcome to the show. Monsters in Mayhem, Part 2. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. I checked on a video that I did a few years ago that I think deserves to be revisited. Thus, Invisible Giants, Part 2. Just as I was getting ready to move again, I heard a huge thump on the ground behind me, as if something massive jumped down from a tree, landing within 10 to 15 feet of me. I immediately spun to face the area behind me, which was a small clearing, and there was nothing. Absolutely nothing there. Now, before we get to your comments, thank you so much, guys, for sharing your experiences. They're a wealth of information. I'm going to revisit an encounter I had with an invisible forest giant like 5-6 years back. Lady K took me up to the Sacred Mountain and dropped me off solo for, a week camping trip. I did have Lunar Pup with me, so I wasn't completely, solo. Roundabout, I think it was day 2, day 3, I was in the forest, much as I am right now. It was a really still day and there wasn't any wind, the branches weren't moving. All of a sudden, way up in front of me, I could see like the branches, like just as if an animal was running through the bush, but there wasn't an animal there. There was just the disturbance. It was like a gust of wind, and it came down and it went right by me. And at the time I was filming, I unfortunately didn't capture the disturbance on camera, but you can capture my reaction. I'll see if I can find that camping trip. I'll link it in the bottom bar, and I will link the original Invisible Giants video, which was quite popular and had some really interesting comments, which we will visit later in the show. The other experience I had that bears retelling, aside from the numerous encounters with heavy breathing from some giant that doesn't seem to be there, was when I was hunting in my tree stand, really still day, and suddenly up in front of me, this branch bent over. Like there was nothing around it. It was a pretty, like a bush. It bent down, stayed down for a bit, and then sprung back up. It was odd. It was really strange. You guys were kind enough to lead the comments. I shall narrate. Without further ado, let's get to it. .30-06 USMC. Yes, it's happened a handful of times while I'm deer hunting. Mine sounded like a deer snort, but like you said, I can see 360 around my stand and 100 yards into the woods. Quiet as a mouse, and whatever it was snorted loud. But nothing is there. Nothing snuck in on me. It happened to me once a year. Brandon Plout. One time in the Homachitto Forest in Mississippi, I was deer hunting and I had cleaned the leaves out in front of a giant beech tree. I was sitting with my back against it. The tree was 5 feet across the front. There was room for 3 people in front of that big tree. As I sat there quietly, all of a sudden I heard heavy breathing. Like a 600-pound, 3-pack-a-day smoker running a marathon heavy breathing. It was cold. I recall it was 11 degrees, and breath like you were smoking a cigar. This breathing was coming out from behind me to my right. It was close, really close. Because I slowly looked up at about 6 foot high, and every long gravel truck breath was pumping steam up above my right shoulder. It was like a geyser going off on each exhale. It sounded like it turned to look up the hill and the steam disappeared, and all I heard was the breathing getting farther and farther away. No footsteps, nothing, just the breathing. I left and never went within 10 miles of that little patch of forest land again. It scared me. It scared me good. Jael Jade. I'm so glad I came across this channel because I thought I'd lost my mind. I live in southeast Alabama. I'm not too far from Pensacola, Florida. And I was helping my neighbor by taking care of his horses while he was gone for a few days. I got done with the horses and locked up the round pen and turned to go to my car. When I looked up, I saw this outline in the woods. And when I saw it, it looked like it was startled and jumped back a bit before falling forward and crawled into the woods. I felt instant fear, and don't think I've been the same since. I thought I had seen a ghost, too, but I really don't think a ghost would crawl away from me. You're much braver than I am. The woods are ruined for me now. If that's out there, then what else is out there? Max Powers. I was going to start with my thoughts on this, but stopped to read the comments. Wow. Always good on your channel. There are 3 invisible things that I experience, and after reading the comments, I'm not alone. The breathing. At a young age, one of our neighbors, Marcel, who lived in an off-grid cabin, talked about he thought that they breathed backwards from us, in through the mouth and out through the nose, giving the exhalation a more raspy sound. I still think this to be true, and I believe that I have mentioned that here before. The invisible footsteps. You expect to turn and see someone right there, but no, just you in an eerily silent, empty woods. And the thump. The 50-pound sack of potatoes that gets dropped on the forest floor next to you, but isn't there. Mushabi 009. The branch thing that moved on you was the same thing that happened to me, except mine moved sideways, and there was 2 large orbs. The first orb moved the branch like a man holding a beach for a lady. The orbs were bigger than a soccer ball, but smaller than a large beach ball, over a foot in diameter, maybe closer to a foot and a half. They undulated slightly like they had some fluidity. Very bizarre. I could make out some morphed facial features. I'm still baffled. Patty's real. Good to see you, Michael. I related down below about myself and 5 other witnesses hearing a giant thud as if a large boulder had been dropped on the creek bank less than 50 feet from us. A lot of mighty particular stuff happened that night besides that. The most exciting one that was experienced by the whole group, besides the thud, was a fist-sized rock that was gently tossed into the camp from out of the dark across the creek that runs through the site. Just gently tumbled in and landed, bump, 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 stop. About 5 feet from where we all stood. That was actually the first thing that occurred. It got weirder from there. Dirkbach, D-R-G-B-O-C. So this past Sunday, I was out hiking in a local wildlife area that is actually closed this week for a controlled deer hunt, which started Monday. I wanted to get in one last hike for the week before it was off limits. Lottery system for tags. I wasn't lucky enough for a tag this year. Anyhow, I was off trail several hundred yards when I spotted 4 white-tailed does running my way from the east. I quickly froze in place so I could watch. After a few seconds, they passed me by and continued on to the west. Just as I was getting ready to move again, I heard a huge thump on the ground behind me, as if something massive jumped down from a tree, landing within 10 to 15 feet of me. I immediately spun to face the area behind me, which was a small clearing, and there was nothing. Absolutely nothing there. I expected to see something there, like a hunter had fallen out of a tree stand, a fallen tree limb, one of those blue chunks of ice that fall off of commercial airliners every 10 years or so. Something. But there were just leaves on the ground. No impression of anything that I could see. No tree stand up in the trees anywhere. No branches. Just nothing. I didn't hear anything else. No running, no walking. I stood and studied the scene for a couple of minutes, trying to work out what had happened, looking up into the trees all around. After a while, I decided I should probably just move on. I spent a couple more hours hiking back out to the road. Nothing else weird after that. Something definitely made that sound, but whatever it was, either just vanished or was so brilliantly camouflaged that even as close as I was, I couldn't make it out. Truth Soldier. The Sasquatch around my house have gotten really comfortable with me, especially after the face-to-face encounter I had with, I'm guessing, the alpha male. He was every bit of 9 to 10 foot tall, and he looked like an old man. Literally, he looked human. He had gray, poofy hair surrounding his face with a gray beard. He also had a really, really long nose. That night I was doing my owl call, trying to call them in. An hour later I stopped calling them in and was sitting on my back porch smoking a cig. I just happened to shine my flashlight into the tree line, and wouldn't you know, there he was, standing there, staring at me. There's no telling how long he'd been standing there staring at me. I yelled, trying to get my brother out of bed and outside. He finally came out and brought his phone with him so I could record. I kid you not when I say that I walked right up to the tree line with my brother behind me, which put me 10 feet from the big guy, with only a 4-foot chain link between us, just so I could get a better video. What was funny was how scared my brother got when we made our way to the tree line. He was behind me and still in my ear the whole time saying, "Come on, Greg, that's close enough." The Sasquatch didn't move an inch while this 20 to 30 minute encounter happened. Finally, we decided to leave him alone, so I went to smoke a cig on the front porch. Didn't want to sit on the back porch by myself anymore. The encounter was very exciting, but very spooky at the same time. Afterwards, we left him alone, and I went out front. While I was out front, I heard him take off, making his way back deeper into the woods, heading towards the railroad tracks. I really regret the way I handled that encounter. Not only was I yelling like an idiot trying to get my brother out, but I got way too excited when I should have stayed calm and tried to communicate with him or something. I sound like a big-time idiot on the video with how excited I got. I seriously really regret acting like that. That experience was probably a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I mean, there have been guys researching Sasquatch for 20 plus years without even catching a slight glimpse of a Bigfoot, and I was lucky enough to come literally face to face with one, and I pissed on it with my actions. We were so close I could tell that he was looking right into my eyes, as I was his. True story. Truth Soldier. Dude, I experienced that exact same thing this past summer in my backyard coming from the tree line. Not only did I keep hearing these loud and long inhales and exhales, but I also had them walking literally 15 feet in front of me without seeing them. Me and my brother could hear the bipedal steps clear as day, but never spotted him that day. I mean, it begs the question, right? What is in the forest? Is the woods just infested with these invisible trolls, gnomes, elves, aliens, demigods? This seems to be a widespread experience that is not getting much traction. You don't hear people talking about running into invisible shit in the forest. What'd you see? Well, I didn't see anything. It was invisible. How do you tell that story? Well, you know, I heard this thing. I smelt this terrible odoriferous smell. I saw branches moving. What was there? Well, nothing. I didn't see anything. I mean, it's even worse than it's worse than seeing a Sasquatch. Seeing a nothing Sasquatch is worse than a something Sasquatch. At least with a something Sasquatch, you know, had black eyes, and you know, it was dark-skinned here and kind of ashen-colored around the face, and it was reddish. You got a description, right? 7-8 foot tall. When you don't see something, what are you going to tell somebody? Wow, there's this really strange thing that I didn't see. I would love to hear the stories of times that you didn't see anything. No, I'm serious. It's serious because I've experienced this a number of times. It's very strange, leading me to believe that perhaps the Sasquatch is or the Sasquatch phenomenon is invisible a lot. More than just invisible, because a lot of times, like I had that time when there was snow on the ground and I heard the heavy breathing, there was no tracks. What's the thing doing? Levitating? Floating? What the hell's going on here? And there's quite a few stories of people, having trees pushed over, but I can't recollect a single example where a person saw the Sasquatch push the tree over. The tree falls over. I think there's even a video of it somewhere. Oh crap, I can't remember the name of that channel. What do you guys think? What is going on here? Is an invisible phenomenon, a multi-dimensional creature? Invisible giants, hideous monsters. Maybe they are making people disappear. Like, how do you fight that? It's like something right out of the Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's right out of Predator. Right out of Predator. And that giant, huge 15-foot thing we saw, that Lady K and I saw up north, that was like a Predator. It was like this weird heat mirage thing passing between trees, and then suddenly it was just giant and solid and impossibly huge. Ridiculously huge. Thank you guys for watching this far into the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really appreciate the time that you spend here, and I would encourage you, I would love to hear your stories. If you guys have had similar experiences, similar stories, let us know about it down in the comment section. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.